Welcome to New York Legal Research, an introduction to municipal law and codes. Municipal, or city, town, and county law, is a subject many law students know little about. However, it will play an important part in advising clients in real-life law practice. So let's cover the basics. What do we aim to accomplish in this brief tutorial? We're taking a practical, cost-effective approach to understanding, locating, and using New York municipal law, and hope to answer these questions. Why is municipal law important for advising clients in business or personal matters? What types of legislation and documents do New York counties, cities, towns, villages produce? What are some free online sources for these materials? Can we see some examples of researching practical client issues using these sources? And what are the key resources for New York City research? Every client that comes to you with a business or personal legal problem is subject to several levels and types of law, and it will be your responsibility to find and interpret all of the law that may apply to your client's situation. First, federal law may apply, such as federal employment statutes. Your client is also subject to New York state laws of many kinds, including family and corporation law. If your client is opening a branch of his business in Canada, a treaty like NAFTA or the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement may also apply. Finally, the laws and regulations of cities, towns, counties in which your client lives, owns property, or operates a business can be crucially important to the issue at hand. In the majority of cases you will encounter, county as well as city or town law must be considered before you can give reliable legal advice. In New York, the city or county's power to make laws governing its local jurisdiction comes from two sources. From the New York State Constitution, Article 9, which gives them the power to adopt local laws and to have an elected legislative body, such as the City Council, and from state laws, such as the Municipal Home Rule Law, the Statute of Local Governments, which gives them specific powers and limits certain powers in making laws. There are basically several kinds of documents and materials which you will need to know about for researching municipal legislation. First, there are charters, which establish the basic form of organization and administration for all cities and for some counties that have adopted them. They are comprised of local laws and special laws, but they really create the framework for the operation of government. Local laws are laws enacted by these cities, towns, and counties within the scope of authority derived from the Constitution of the State of New York. And you will usually see them listed as local law, the year, and then the number of the law, such as 2013-20. Ordinances are very similar to local laws. In fact, they have the same impact on citizens. The only difference is that ordinances are enacted under the lawmaking authority granted by statutes, not by the Constitution. And finally, there are resolutions, which are usually of a temporary or special nature, such as creating a special commission. How do you cite to all of these types of documents? The Blue Book contains rules and examples for citing to all of them, whether published in print or whether you find them posted online. Now we're going to look at municipal codes. Municipal codes are simply compilations of enacted laws arranged in a subject order for which cities or towns or counties will usually contract with a commercial publisher, and that commercial publisher will publish books of these municipal codes and also post them on the publisher's database website. The two free municipal code databases on the web that you should know about for New York research are eCode 360 and MuniCode. E-Code 360 also includes uncodified laws and ordinances for that particular city, town, or village. Let's take a look at E-Code 360 now, and you can see it includes other states as well as New York. If we click on New York, you will see that it includes many, many towns and villages. And for example, if we click on Oyster Bay, the town, this is what it looks like. You can browse the code, you can search chapters of the code, or you can use the index, which is derived from the book index. Among the city, town, and county websites that are important are their official websites, which include very often their laws, their codes, their regulations. A good example is Nassau County. Let's give a hypothetical to help us along. Your client owns a pizza restaurant in Nassau County, New York. She wants to install an ATM machine in the corner of the restaurant for her customers' convenience. Can your client do this? What is the procedure? And will the county charge the restaurant a fee? These are all important questions for any real-life client who wishes to engage in this activity. How do you find Nassau County laws? All you need to do is usually a Google search such as Nassau County, New York, and you will bring up in your results the official website. Once you get to the official website, I recommend that you look for the word government. It's usually a tab, and for example, within government, if we come around to the top right, you will see laws, regulations, and codes, which is exactly what we're looking for. Laws, regulations, and codes on this page include the Nassau County Administrative Code, the Charter, the miscellaneous laws, their anti-discrimination law, and some handy links to federal and state laws and to important towns and villages within the county of Nassau. First, we want to take a look at the Nassau County Administrative Code, which you will see is only updated as far as December 2010. If we click on the code, you'll see it's in PDF format, and we will have to search it with a control find in order to find a law that may relate to our client's problem. However, the important thing to do first is to read the introductory material. This will tell you what you need to find and how you're going to go about finding it within the Nassau County websites and other contacts. It will tell you that this is only updated as far as December 31st, 2010, and for the enacting or amending legislation, you can call the clerk of the legislature, and they give the number. However, you should also be aware that in addition to the administrative code, local laws enacted by the county legislature are codified in the Nassau County Charter and the miscellaneous laws. So we have to check the charter and the miscellaneous laws as well. Finally, you also have ordinances and resolutions, which are not codified. And so they give you a link at which you probably can obtain them. However, this link is currently inactive, so we're going to have to find another way, maybe by calling the clerk of the legislature, to get any ordinances or resolutions that may impact your client on this matter. If you did a search for the words automated teller, simply by doing a control find on the previous page where you had the county administrative code, you would find an act, the Automated Teller Machine Safety Act, and reading through, you would see that it applies to any unenclosed automated teller machine located in buildings such as restaurants, available for use only during the regular hours of operation of that building. That seems to apply to your client at this point. You go on to read that registration is required, and registrations are only valid for a year, and fees should be paid, $100 for the first year registration and $50 for every year thereafter, and there are still more requirements in Section 2122(5). These are all important facts for you to know in order to get back to your client with some reliable information. However, we also have to check the charter and the miscellaneous laws. Those are linked also from the laws, codes, and regulations page that we were looking at on the website. If we check the charter, there is nothing on automated teller machines there. Miscellaneous laws, we would find the Automated Teller Machine Security Protection Act, but that's only for banks, as it tells you. So, are we done? No, not at all. We need to check the Nassau County local laws for any amendments to this administrative code, in which we found the law that applied to our client, because laws may have been passed since December 2010. That's nearly 5 years ago, the date of the administrative code, and we need to look at them. Where would you find the local laws? That website link is inactive. Do we really want to have to call the clerk of the legislature about this? Not if we can help it. My advice is on any county site to search for legislature, and you may find the local laws somewhere on the legislature page. You can also search the site for local laws. The Nassau County local laws are linked from the legislature page and are found here. This is the local laws page of the legislature site, and if you scrolled down, you would, going back through the years of local laws that were passed, you would eventually come to Local Law 12. A local law to amend the Nassau County Administrative Code in relation to the fees charged for the registration of automated teller machines. This your client would find very relevant. You could click on it and read the text, but I'm going to tell you what you would find there. You would find that Local Law 2012-12 increased the initial registration fee to $150 and the renewal fee to $100. In other words, it amended the ATM Safety Act we were looking at in the administrative code. Is there anything else? I would suggest one more thing at this point while we're still on the website. You could search the entire site for automated teller. This often brings up additional information such as regulations or special forms that might help your client. For example, that search would bring up this page from the Consumer Affairs Department of Nassau County, which will give you the up-to-date administration, the registration form for ATMs, private ATMs, such as your client wishes to install in the restaurant. But we're not done yet. You remember that your administrative code initially told you that you need to check for ordinances, and you also might want to see if there were any other laws passed, except the one that we saw from 2015 on the local laws page. Now you will have to call the clerk of the legislature for this information, and they did give you the number in the administrative code. At this point, you're finally ready to research what New York State and town or village laws, those municipal codes on those free websites, what they have that might apply to your client's problem. We're now going to move on to New York City. New York City is one city made up of 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island, has 82.5 or more people, and of course has many, many laws, regulations, and other documents that you might want to research in order to do effective New York City municipal research. All of these important New York City materials are available on the city's official websites: the Charter, the Administrative Code, New York City rules, those are their regulations, local laws enacted since 1990, bills, new bills, for example, pending bills in the City Council. Their bills that are introduced are called intros, and resolutions adopted since 1998. You can find all of this material on free official websites of the City of New York. However, there are 2 public websites for New York City that I want to stress because these are particularly helpful. One of them is the Public Portal to the Laws of New York site. This includes the City Charter, the Administrative Code, and the New York City regulations. And you can browse by chapter or title or specific section. You can search all 3 of these in one keyword search. So this is a very useful site. You can see we have the laws of the City of New York, the Charter, the Code, and the rules, and you can search the entire site for keywords in this box. For example, if you wanted to search, you'd have to search all 3 words. If we have a client, for example, who is interested in what responsibilities he has for a vacant lot which is adjacent to a business he owns in Queens, he might be interested in materials involving vacant lots and fencing. So you might search vacant lot and fence, all search words, and submit. Usually takes a few minutes. It's searching all 3, the rules, the charter, and the administrative code. And you can see that you have results, 3 results from the charter, 4 from the administrative code, 5 from the rules, and so forth. And they are, your keywords are highlighted below, so you can decide out of these 14 results how many you'd like to look at and which ones you're particularly interested in reading the full text of. I want to point out that these are not official publications of the Charter, Code, and Rules on either of these free public sites that I'm showing you. And they are not annotated with case annotations. They are simply the text, but they're a very good place to start. The other free public site that is important for New York City research is, believe it or not, the New York State Legislature site. And the reason for that is that it also includes links to the New York City Administrative Code and the New York City Charter. It does not include the rules, but it does include all the laws of New York State, which will allow you to search those as well. If we go to laws, click on Laws of New York at this site, you will see in the compiled laws of New York, and scroll down to the very bottom, you will also see the New York City Administrative Code and the New York City Charter. And what you would want to do for your client is to search vacant lot and fence. And now you're running the search through all the New York State laws as well as the New York City Charter and the code. This has some interesting results. Duties and obligations of property owner with respect to sidewalks and lots, and definitions and something from the New York State real property tax law. May or may not be relevant, but at least you have some other things to look for that you can link right to. These two have no case annotations, it's simply the text. So, what have we found now? For our client, our business owner in Queens, we've found 14 results from the New York Public Portal, and we have found 5 results from New York State laws. You may have noticed that one of the results from your New York State laws page on the state legislature site was from the New York City Fire Code. Codes sometimes thought of separately, like the New York City fire, building, or plumbing codes, for example, are contained within the New York City Administrative Code. Therefore, when you're searching these, you're also searching in codes such as the building and the plumbing code when you search the administrative code. Now, having found some different sections or parts of these charters and codes and the regulations of New York City that you might want to look further at, we are ready to move on to the official annotated New York City laws and rules. And where would you find those? Those are published by the New York Legal Publishing Corporation, and they are published as books, and you can also go to Lexis Advance or Westlaw Next to find the same materials. The most cost-effective way is to use the books, at least initially. We have these multi-volume sets on reserve at the library, both of them. You can note here what the latest update that we received and what the call number is on the catalog, or simply ask for it at the reserve desk. These do have case annotations and historical notes, and they're updated with pocket parts twice a year. Remember, if you do use Lexis Advance or Westlaw Next, those materials online are derived from the books, and they're only as current as the most recent published print updates that you would find in the library. In order to complete your due diligence for your client, you also need to update this New York City research with recently passed laws that may not appear in the books or the online databases. How about pending legislation being considered by the City Council that may affect your client? And most importantly, perhaps, recently adopted and proposed rules. Where would you find these? Well, you can find them free and online at these two sources: the City Council website, legislation page. Here you can search for bills that are pending in the City Council of New York. And you may want to change the year to 2014 to 2017 for the session to make sure that you bring up any relevant introduced bills. And then search vacant and let's start again with this one. Sometimes that does happen. vacant and lot and fence. Why am I using the ands? Because this site requires connectors between your keywords. Now we're going to search for legislation. And it brings up one bill, one intro as they call it, that you can click on. And if you want to see the text, you simply click on the word reports, the reports tab. And now you can link to the full text of the legislation and other details about the legislation. It's really quite simple once you know the basic process. And I really like this last website, the New York City Rules website, NYC Rules. This is a great source for searching current rules as well as proposed and recently adopted rules. And that's what we need. And they might be hard to find, except they're all here on this website. Recently adopted rules and proposed rules. And this would bring us right up to date with the regulations that would apply, the New York City rules, to your client's problem. Well, as you have seen, there are many good resources available for New York municipal law, but researching municipal law for New York and New York City can be challenging at times. So what do? You just ask. Ask a reference librarian for assistance. Take advantage of the telephone help provided by LexisNexis and Westlaw when using those subscription databases. And finally, don't forget to contact town or county clerks for that additional or updated information that you can't find online. If you do all of these, you will be a success at New York legal research in municipal law and codes. This concludes our tutorial.